pre-industrial revolution, certainly in Europe, there was no Germany, there was no Italy. There were a series of principalities of about 1 million people. And this is why I find it interesting, back to Adelaide, I think this is the perfect city-state, where you have about 1 million people, and it seems that sometimes culturally, geographically, linguistically, gastronomically, people are most comfortable living in groups of about 1 million, where you have much more identity than if you are part of a bigger city, or so a bigger nation. The old idea of the nation-state is getting a little bit tired, because we are no longer looking at rigid borders, and already in Europe, despite opposition, the EU seems to be going forwards, and I think people would feel more comfortable if they realize this could liberate them to go back to living in smaller groups again, pre-industrial revolution, and that might apply throughout the world. Nehru in India, I gather, put a premium on developing the 25 states, eerily similar number to EU, by giving them an identity and being quite relaxed in terms of how they came together as a nation, by having each state pretty much autonomous. So I think people are quite comfortable like this, and it's not so much a new idea, but one that we might go back to, where we are living in smaller communities, but at the same time those small communities are much more networked into the whole. And it might be, instead of being Europe or India, it's now global. And I think that has to be good, because it's acknowledging the technologies which are global, and also allowing for the immigration and the free migration of different people for different times of their lives to add to the strengths and help the weaknesses of different countries. So my own view is that for true global citizenship, and there's no alternative for the world, we have to have much more migration and movement and iteration, and that can be engendered by an abandonment of this old jingoistic, nationalistic idea of people rigidly belonging to different countries. This would mean, of course, that people have the capacity to change their minds. And if you define mind, as I would like to, by the personalization of the brain, then yes, that's what human beings should be doing. Sadly, against that is the fundamentalist, rigid, core belief systems, which can act as the dead hand against being open to new ideas. What I would like to see is a flexible identity that, whilst having a theme, having some kind of coherent sets of values, nonetheless are open to modification by outside influences in a critical, evaluative way, not just whatever comes along, accepting it blindly, but questioning things, but nonetheless being open, having had these questions, to modification. And I think that's what education should be, and education is, which is to develop a conceptual framework that's constantly refined and changed. It's there as a conceptual framework, there's something there, but at the same time it's one that is open. You have to be open-minded.